The crusade against teaching America's history of racism continues. On Tuesday, a new bill that would criminalize public schools and private businesses in Florida that make anyone feel, quote, discomfort in lessons or training about the discrimination of the country's history passed a key state Senate committee. According to Individual Freedom Bill, discussions of slavery and racism are permitted as long as they don't cause, quote, psychological distress to people, white people, in the process. The bill is backed by none other than the Republican governor and draws inspiration from the Stop Woke Act he proposed last month, a takedown of the, quote, both corporate wokeness and critical race theory. That's the way he put it. Teachers have sounded like a broken record, clarifying that critical race theory isn't even taught in Florida's K-12 schools. Plus, the Florida Board of Education banned CRT in June of last year to shield children from lessons that, quote, distort historical events. So what does this bill actually do? Further chill discussions of race and white fragility into the law? Joining me now to discuss Florida State Senator Shevrin Jones. Senator Jones, as a Florida State Senator, what do you make of this bill that is before your body?
Well, first of all, the name of the bill is Individual Freedom, but it's clear that this title is simply a guise to work up people who are not familiar with the process. Republicans, over the years in Florida particularly, have cloaked themselves in freedom, but clearly pick and choose which freedoms and for whom they support these said freedoms. You made it just clear a few minutes ago that critical race theory, the 1619 Project, or any other book that they're trying to ban is not even taught in any of our classroom, is not even taught in any DEI trainings. This is just Governor DeSantis's way to continue his conversation of the Stop Woke Act that he has been touting across the country, and he's been touting across the state of Florida, rather than dealing with the kitchen table issues that need to be dealt with. He has made critical race theory the highlight of his tenure as the governor here in the state of Florida.
So, how does one legislate and criminalize discomfort? Because how do you measure it?
You can't criminalize it. Not only can you not criminalize it, there is no law that you can try to legislate to try to distort history. But let's be extremely clear about it. I have come to the point to where I don't even say critical race theory. Critical race theory is their scapegoat. What they're trying to do is they're trying to distort, they're trying to discredit Black history, American history, which is their history also. And no one at no time has said that white people who are currently living are at fault for anything that has happened in the past. But because they feel uncomfortable, because the conversation is uncomfortable, they want to put laws in place for them to feel comfortable, as if children are not talking about this as you and I have this conversation today.
So listen, we all know that this is all political, right? They latched onto this because it sounded good. It was a way to win back some suburban white women, to make them anxious about what their children were learning and how much input they could have in schools. And all of these bills, they're very mushy. They would be almost impossible to enforce, but they push them through because it gins up energy, enthusiasm, anger, fear among white suburban women, a demographic that was moving away from the GOP. The problem, though, I see is on the other side, which is there are a lot of teachers caught in the middle here, don't know what they can and cannot say, afraid to be sued. They don't make enough money, many of them, just to live their lives regularly, comfortably. They certainly don't make enough money to defend themselves against lawsuits. Even though it's a problematic bill, could it still have the chilling effect that they desire because it is a terrorist bill? It evokes terror in the hearts and the minds of the teachers, which would make them kind of curtail what they were going to teach anyway?
Absolutely. Teachers are already scared to speak freely inside the classroom. The Republicans talk all the time about giving teachers educational freedom, But this is far off from that mark of giving teachers educational freedom. So much so that the Republicans are double talking out of both sides of their out of both sides of their mouth. In one breath, they're saying, "Yeah, we want you to teach history and the factual and it's how factual history is, Black history is." But then in another breath, they're telling you what you can't say about it. Either I either can teach history or I can't teach history, because the truth is, if I'm gonna teach about Black history, I have to talk about segregation. I have to talk about redlining. I have to talk about the lynchings. I have to talk about how laws were created to set Black people back during the Jim Crow era. But they don't want to feel embarrassed of what their grandmamas, and their grandfathers have done. And here's the real issue. The real issue is that the Republicans are getting a kick and they're getting aroused by this about the critical race theory, quote unquote, Black history, but yet and still they don't want to deal with the real issues. They don't want to deal with the fact, specifically in Florida, that we have raging COVID cases. They don't want to deal with the fact that we have high hospitalizations. They don't want to deal with the fact that down in South Florida, to rent an 850 square foot home, it costs almost $6,500 for rent. They don't want to talk about those issues, but they want to make critical race theory the issue of the year.
One last question. I probably have about a minute left here. It's a political ploy, but it will be, if this passes, it will be a law on the books. In other states, it's already a law on the books. Are you worried about what happens when it comes time for the states to start to buy new textbooks, new history books? I'm not sure that has happened yet in any of these states since they have passed these laws. But there will be a lot of pressure if this is the law of the state. The textbook can't have something that violates the law of the state. And so are you worried that the books from which our children learn will eventually be bleached clean of an accurate history?
Absolutely. The textbooks that the students are reading today have already been bleached with not with incorrect history, and all this is going to do is continue to do that. Here's my charge to everyone who's watching this today. We have to start teaching our children what the true history is, because they are trying to pull it out of our classrooms, and we need to make sure that our children know the truth and they are holding to that truth, because if not, we will repeat what we have escaped from years ago.